My ex and my dad became best friends and my fiancé lost it. My fiancé just gave me an ultimatum. It's him or it's me. But the him isn't another lover. It's my dad. Why? Because my dad and my ex-boyfriend are now inseparable best friends. I'm talking matching golf shirts, Sunday barbecues, inside jokes. They've become a package deal, and my fiancé just found the text chain where my dad invited my ex on our honeymoon. This isn't just a problem. This is a 5-alarm family fire. And you're about to see the match, the gasoline, and the entire explosion.
Hey, store lover. Welcome to the Narrative Hub, Reddit Stories. Believe me, this adventure gets wild, but it's only epic with you. Seriously, you make this possible. Want more stories? Greater adventure? Smash subscribe right now. Smash like. Comment below. Let's go.
My name is Addison Campbell, and my fiancé is Ethan Moore. Or at least he was this morning. Now I'm not so sure. The man who set this fire, my ex, Kyle Stewart. The man who poured the gasoline, my own father. It all started so innocently, it's almost sickening to look back on. 3 months ago, Ethan and I were deep in wedding planning, venues, caterers, the color of the napkins. It was stressful, but it was our stress. Kyle was ancient history, a painful chapter I had closed, or so I thought. Then my dad called me. "Hey, Addie," he said, way too cheerful. "You'll never guess who I ran into at the golf range. Kyle Stewart, remember him? Great kid. We're going to the ball game on Saturday. I had an extra ticket and you're always so busy with. Well, you know." I froze. "Dad, that's weird. You know he's my ex, right? Like the bad ex." "Oh, nonsense," he brushed it off. "People can be friends. He asked how you were. He's very supportive." When I told Ethan, he just stared at me. "That's not weird, Addison. That's a boundary. A giant, flashing, neon red boundary. And your dad just pole vaulted over it." I told him it was a one-time thing. A fluke. But I had this cold feeling in my stomach, like watching a car crash about to happen. I just didn't realize I was already in the front seat. Of course, it wasn't a one-time thing. A week later, it was the golf shirts. My dad posted a picture on social media. Him and Kyle, arms slung around each other, wearing matching polos. The caption, "My new favorite golfing buddy." Ethan saw it before I did. He didn't say anything. He just slid his phone across the table at dinner, his face pale. Then came the barbecues. I'd call my parents' house on a Sunday, and my mom would answer, whispering, "Addison, your father." He invited Kyle over again. There, grilling. This wasn't a friendship. This was a hostile takeover. Kyle was flanking me. He was bypassing me and going straight for the CEO, my father. He didn't just lose me in the breakup. He was now strategically taking over my entire family. Ethan finally cornered me in the kitchen. "He's at your parents' house more than we are," he said, his voice tight. "He's commenting on your mom's photos. Your aunt just added him as a friend. Do you not see what's happening? He is weaving himself into your family and you are letting him." "What am I supposed to do?" I shot back, defensive. "Forbid my father from having friends." "Yes," he yelled, shocking me. "When that friend is the man who nearly broke you. Yes, you're supposed to protect us. You're supposed to draw a line. He's making me question if I'm marrying into a family or a nightmare." I tried, I really did. I went to my dad. "Dad, this Kyle thing, it's making Ethan uncomfortable. It's making me uncomfortable. It's inappropriate." My dad, a man who has never taken criticism well from me, crossed his arms. "Inappropriate? The kid's got a good head on his shoulders. He's sharp. He listens. Frankly, he's got more of a backbone than you do sometimes." That stung more than I can say. Hearing my own father say that my ex-boyfriend was stronger than me, his daughter. So I backed down. That was my second mistake. I chose the path of least resistance, and by doing that, I handed Kyle the keys to my father's house and the detonator to my engagement. The first explosion happened at our engagement party. It was at a beautiful restaurant. Everything was perfect. Ethan was beaming. Our families were mingling. I was just about to give a toast when the restaurant door opened, and in he walked. Kyle Stewart. He was wearing a brand new suit, and he wasn't alone. He was my dad's plus one. You know that sound in movies when a grenade goes off? That high-pitched ringing? That's all I could hear. The entire room fell silent. Ethan's parents stared. Ethan himself. He didn't move. He just went perfectly, terrifyingly still. My dad, completely oblivious, slapped Kyle on the back. "There he is. Go on, son, grab a beer." He saw me staring and winked. "See, we're all one big happy family." Kyle had the nerve to walk over, his hand outstretched. "Addison, congrats, this is." "Wow, and Ethan, good to meet you, man." Ethan didn't scream. He didn't cry. He looked at Kyle with a gaze so cold it could have frozen fire. Then he looked at my dad. "You have 5 seconds," he said, his voice dangerously low, "to get him out of our party." My dad started to bluster. "Now, you listen here, young man." 5, 4, 3. My dad, seeing something in Ethan's eyes he'd never seen before, grabbed Kyle by the arm. "This is ungrateful," he hissed, but he dragged Kyle out of the restaurant. The party was over. The vibe was ruined. Ethan spent the rest of the night barely speaking, his jaw clenched tight. I'd thought my biggest problem was my ex crashing my engagement party. I was wrong. That wasn't the explosion. That was just the fuse being lit. The real bomb was still waiting in my dad's pocket. The next 2 weeks were a pressure cooker. Ethan was in full-on, ice-cold wedding planner mode. "We need to finalize the catering," he'd say, not looking at me. "Have you booked the florist?" The warmth was gone. I was trapped. I'd yell at my dad on the phone, he'd hang up on me. I'd try to apologize to Ethan, he'd just look through me and say, "Fix it." I drove to my parents' house, desperate to make my dad understand, to plead with him to just apologize to Ethan. When I pulled up, Kyle's car was in the driveway. A blind, white-hot rage I didn't even know I possessed took over. I didn't knock. I slammed the front door open. And there they were, in the living room, my dad and Kyle. They were sitting at the coffee table, heads bent together, working on my grandfather's model ship. A priceless antique model he'd been building before he passed away. A model my dad had never let me touch. Not once. "Too delicate for you, sweetheart," he'd always said. "Get out," I roared. Kyle looked up, startled, but my dad stood up slowly. "This is my house, Addison, and Kyle is my guest. You're the one acting like a child." "He's not your guest, he's a parasite, and he's not touching Grandpa's ship." I lunged forward, not to hit anyone, but to grab the ship to protect it. Kyle stood up and put a hand out. "Hey, Addison, calm down." Seeing him between me and that ship, standing where I'd never been allowed to stand, I snapped. I shoved past him hard, but I didn't just shove him. I knocked the table. It was like slow motion. The half-built, intricate, irreplaceable model ship lifted off its stand, hung in the air for a second, and then crashed onto the stone hearth. It didn't just break. It shattered into a million tiny pieces of wood and string. Silence. My dad looked at the wreckage. He looked at Kyle. Then he looked at me and his face was carved from granite. "Get out," he whispered, "and don't come back until you've grown up." Kyle just stood there watching me, and I'll swear to my dying day, he was smiling. A tiny, victorious smirk. I'd just destroyed a piece of my family's history, but in that moment, seeing the look on his face, I realized this wasn't an accident. This wasn't a friendship. This was a game, and Kyle was winning. I drove home, numb, covered in shame. I walked in, ready to confess, to tell Ethan I had ruined everything. But he was already sitting on the couch, dead calm. It was the calm of the eye of the storm. "Addison," he said, his voice hollow, "I need you to look at this." He was holding his phone. "Your dad." He accidentally included me on a group text, a text meant for Kyle. He held it up, and I read it. The text from my dad said, "Hey Kyle, just firmed up the resort in Maui for the honeymoon. Don't worry, I got you your own suite. It'll be a great surprise for Addie. Can't wait, buddy." He invited my ex-boyfriend on our honeymoon. Ethan stood up slowly. "I'm done," he said. The calm was gone. His eyes were blazing with a fire I had never seen. "I am not competing with your ex-boyfriend, and I am not marrying into that." He pointed at the phone. "So you choose," he said, walking toward the bedroom. It's him or it's me, but the him isn't Kyle, it's your dad. If you don't cut him out of your life, our life. Right now, the wedding is off. I am packing a bag. I just stared, speechless. My entire world was collapsing. Ethan, you can't be serious. He's my father. He stopped at the bedroom door and looked back at me, his face a mask of bitter realization. Before you answer, Addison, I was so confused. I couldn't understand why. Why this obsession? It didn't make sense. He held up his phone again, but this time, it was on a different screen. A business website. So I did some digging, he said, his voice shaking with rage. Kyle got a new job 3 weeks ago, a really good job, as the new junior partner at your father's investment firm. I couldn't breathe. The barbecues, the golf games, the engagement party, the ship. It was all a lie. It wasn't a friendship. It was a network. It was a career move. It was a hostile takeover. And my father had chosen him over me. I heard the sound of a zipper. Ethan walked out of the bedroom, wheeling a small suitcase. Choose, Addison, he said, walking past me to the front door. You have until I walk out of it. Who are you loyal to? The man who raised you? Or the man you're supposed to spend your life with? You're trapped, and the clock is ticking.